heads of households is 10%, which exceeds the highest rate experienced during the 2001 recession and the jobless recovery that followed. On average, one-third of the jobs lost were held by women during the past 8 months. And women are experiencing the same difficulties as men, with downturns, with layoffs, with stagnant wages, with outsourcing and pay cuts as well. The burden grows heavier when you take into account that women earn only 78 cents for every dollar a man earns. And that is across the spectrum. Whether a woman is a bus driver, a waitress, a university-educated woman, an engineer, a radio anchor, you just go across the board. The fact is, I work in the House of Representatives. I've male colleagues from all over the country. We make the same salary. We come from different places. We have different education skills, other kinds of skill sets, different issues, different credentials. It is all very diverse, but we are paid the same amount of money for the same job. That is not the case for most women in this nation. It needs to be the fact for every woman in this nation. Without this equity, more and more women bear the consequences of the recession, and they become more and more integral to their family's economic security. And what do we have to do? We have to take on a wider obligation. We have to stand with these women. We have to empower them, and we have to make sure we give them the tools that they need in order to succeed. And what's that? What's that? It's a new set of public policy that support women in this economy, that say that we value women and we value the work that women do in our society. And that's why you're here today, and that's why I am here today, because for too long, women's work in our society has been undervalued. But we're turning that around. We have to make up for 8 years of lost ground, and I know it isn't going to be easy. But today we have a new opportunity. Conferences such as this one are no longer operating in a political wilderness bereft of policy options. And different climate, my friends, different environment. At this powerful moment, with a new administration, an emboldened Congress, we are bound only by our imagination. Bound by only our imagination. This is our chance. It's our responsibility not only to regain the ground that we have lost, but to expand women's economic and social status, and that means pushing forward on some of the most fundamental questions of women's equity. And I also say at this juncture, it is a new environment, it's a new president, a new Congress, but I'll tell you, I believe in trusting, but I believe in verifying. So we push the edge of that envelope. You know, early this year we had an opportunity with the Economic Recovery Act, and in fact the package did include many key provisions that are especially important for women and children. Significant tax cuts for working women, nutrition assistance programs, major investments in health care, child care, early education, support for small business owners, major new investments to prevent teacher layoffs. This, to some extent, will ensure that female-headed households will not be left behind in the recovery. But I was disappointed, quite frankly, because what we didn't do is to pay enough attention in that legislation to how we make sure that women are being trained and included in these high-wage, high-skilled jobs of the future. And that's where we have to take a part of what we have to take for the future. Beyond the Recovery Act, which, as you know, deals with a current economic crisis, That bill was for 2 years, at most 2.5 years with some of the programs there. What we do is we need policies that help women and their families in the long term, to help to create that sense of security. That's where we have to go. And to this end, I have introduced legislation to help unemployed, underemployed women train for and thrive in high-skill, family-friendly work. The bill is called the Pathways Advancing Career Training Act. PACT, P-A-C-T. We always have to have an acronym here somewhere. This would provide assistance to states for training programs. More than 6.4 million single mothers, nearly 4.3 million displaced homemakers in the United States struggle below or just barely above the poverty line. And what PACT would do, it would deal with job training, and what that effort has failed to accomplish over the years. It would meet the unique needs of these unemployed and underemployed women by scaling up successful programs from across the country. It's about opening new doors, making opportunity real for women in once untapped job markets, and it will prepare women for unemployment in high-wage, high-skill programs where they are now, as you know, so underrepresented. When it comes to the wage gap, I've talked about Lily. I couldn't be more proud to have stood there, and I've been able to share that moment. The very, very first piece of legislation the President of the United States signed. Very fair. Very fair. Actions speak louder than words. Actions speak louder than words. And you know, it was a funny scene there, right, Lily, when he was giving the pens out? You know, the president, he signs his name with a half dozen or more pens. I got to tell you, what a scramble for the pens there was on that dais, you know. Everybody, you know, and thank God the first one is to Lily for what she did, you know. The first one. We can't stop, and Lily knows this. That's why she said to me just a few minutes ago, you tell me when and where to be. I'll be in Washington. I'll talk to the senators on behalf of Paycheck Fairness, because we can't stop there. We have to face gender discrimination head on. And in January, as Lisa pointed out, the House of Representatives passed the Paycheck Fairness Act, and that was because of your pressure, that was because of your perseverance. I'm confident that the Senate is going to follow suit. We are going to give teeth to that Equal Pay Act and to begin to eliminate systemic discrimination that is faced by women, and we're going to blow up that picture that you have of President Kennedy signing that bill in 1963. We're not going to let up on this, and I know you're not going to do that. This past Wednesday, the New York Times had a great editorial on the bill. It said, and I quote, "Women still make, on average, 78 cents for every dollar earned by men performing substantially the same work. To foster greater fairness, stronger civil rights protections are required. Too many women have been shortchanged for too long. Just because something is illegal does not mean it does not continue to go on. And passing Paycheck Fairness would mean the kind of real progress for women that is critical in a boom economy, and even more critical today. And it is true of issues like paid sick days, requiring that workers receive a minimum of 7 days of paid sick time, a modicum of relief so that parents no longer have to choose between their health, their child's health, or their job and their paycheck. Nearly 1/2, 48% of private sector workers